This is Mr. Eugene, and today we're talking about one of the most practically useful skills a man in a relationship can develop. Not how to win arguments, not how to make her see reason, not how to get the last word. How to stay in control of yourself when she's attacking you emotionally, how to get through those moments without making your situation worse. How to keep your dignity intact when everything around you is designed to strip it away. Because here's what most men do when a woman attacks them emotionally. They get defensive. They start listing evidence. They try to prove their innocence. They argue back. They match her emotional intensity. And every single time, without exception, it makes things worse. Not slightly worse, significantly worse. The argument escalates. Things get said that cannot be unsaid. Damage accumulates that takes weeks to repair. And somehow, despite being the one who was attacked, the man ends up apologizing. There is a better way. A tactic so simple you can use it right now with no special training. A mental framework that changes how you receive what she's saying and completely transforms how you respond. Today, I'm breaking down exactly why men lose emotional control in these moments, why defensiveness destroys you, and the specific tactic that keeps you grounded when she's doing everything possible to knock you off balance. Let me start with why these moments are so dangerous for men. When a woman attacks you emotionally, she has access to something no stranger has: your vulnerabilities. The things you shared in trust and confidence during intimate moments, your fears, your insecurities, your history, the things that matter most to you. Almost every man has experienced this. Something he shared honestly with his woman in a moment of genuine openness, used against him months or years later in the middle of an argument, weaponized intimacy, designed to inflict maximum emotional pain in minimum time. She knows exactly where your soft spots are. And in moments of emotional attack, she uses that knowledge precisely. This is why these arguments hurt so much more than conflicts with anyone else. She's not throwing random punches. She's targeting what she knows will land. On top of that, the attacks often take the form of statements that are clearly untrue but emotionally devastating. You don't love me. You never cared about this family. I hate you. You're a terrible person. These statements are designed to provoke a specific response: defense. Because the moment you start defending yourself against these accusations, you've already lost control of the interaction. This is why most men handle these moments badly, not because they're weak, because the attack is specifically designed to trigger their defenses. Here's why getting defensive is the worst possible response, even though it feels like the right one. When she says something like, "You don't love me," your immediate instinct is to prove she's wrong. You start listing evidence. What are you talking about? I work 60 hours a week for this family. I bought you that ring. I take you on holidays. I sat through every one of your family dinners for 15 years. How can you possibly say, "I don't love you"? This feels rational. Feels like the logical response to an incorrect accusation. Feels like you're setting the record straight. But here's what you're actually doing. By listing all that evidence, you're treating her statement as a valid accusation requiring a defense. You're implicitly acknowledging that the accusation has enough merit to require refutation. You're now on trial, presenting your case, trying to prove your innocence. And just like running from certain animals triggers their predator instinct and makes them chase you, becoming defensive triggers her aggression, your defensiveness tells her the attack is landing. That encourages more attacks. The cycle escalates. The argument gets worse. More ammunition gets deployed, more damage gets done. Defensiveness validates the attacker. And validation emboldens them. Here is the tactic: simple, immediately usable, genuinely effective. No matter what she says to you, no matter how personal the attack, no matter how untrue the statement, you need to mentally construct what I call a verbal sandwich around her words. You add something to the beginning of what she says, and you add something to the end of what she says. You do this mentally, not out loud. It changes how you receive her words before you respond. Here is the first piece of bread. Whatever she says, mentally put the words "I feel" at the beginning. She says, "You don't love me." You mentally hear, "I feel you don't love me." She says, "You're a terrible person." You mentally hear, "I feel you're a terrible person." She says, "I hate you." You mentally hear, "I feel I hate you." Notice what this simple mental addition does. It transforms her statement from a declaration about reality into a confession about her emotional state. "You don't love me" is a factual claim about your behavior that requires defense or refutation. "I feel you don't love me" is a statement about her internal experience right now. And you cannot argue with someone's feelings. They feel what they feel. That is simply true. This matters enormously because you are no longer dealing with an accusation requiring defense. You're dealing with an emotional confession, and emotional confessions don't require you to prove anything, don't require a list of evidence, don't require you to go on trial. She feels you don't love her right now. That's her emotional reality in this moment. It may be completely disconnected from your actual behavior. It probably is, but fighting it is pointless because you cannot logic someone out of a feeling. The second piece of bread, mentally add the words right now to the end of whatever she says. I feel you don't love me right now. I feel I hate you right now. I feel you're a terrible person right now. This addition does something equally important. It reminds you that you're dealing with a temporary emotional state, not a permanent reality. Emotions change, sometimes within hours. The woman who says I hate you right now may feel completely differently by tomorrow. The woman who says you don't love me in the heat of an argument may be affectionate and appreciative by the next morning. This doesn't make the words less painful to hear, but it does mean you don't need to treat them as permanent declarations about the state of your relationship. You're dealing with an ephemeral moment, a temporary emotional weather system passing through. When you engage with temporary emotions as though they're permanent realities, you extend their lifespan. You give them weight and significance they don't deserve. You get pulled into defending yourself against feelings that would have passed on their own. Put it together. She says you don't love me. You mentally hear, I feel you don't love me right now. You've just transformed an attack requiring defense into a temporary emotional confession, without saying a single word out loud yet, without changing a single thing about the situation except how you're receiving it. This mental reframe keeps you grounded, keeps your emotional control intact, keeps you from getting suckered into the defensive spiral that makes everything worse. Now let me tell you what to actually say once you have this mental framework operating. The most effective response to emotional attack is accurate reflection, not agreement, not approval, not a commitment to anything. Just reflecting back what she said in a way that communicates you heard her. She says you don't love me. You respond you feel I don't love you. That's it. Nothing added, nothing defended, nothing argued. She'll likely continue. She'll say, yeah, because you never make time for me. You're always working. You respond, you feel I don't make enough time for you. 3 or 4 exchanges like this are enough to take the heat out of almost any interaction. Because what most people need when they're emotionally activated is to feel heard. When people don't feel heard, they get louder and more aggressive. When they do feel heard, they get quieter and more reasonable. Reflection communicates message received without agreeing, defending, or escalating. It's the most efficient path through an emotional storm. And once the emotion has passed, once the temperature has dropped, then you can address whatever actual issues are underneath the outburst. But that conversation happens later, when both people can engage rationally, not in the middle of the storm. Let me walk through exactly what this looks like in a real situation. You come home after a particularly long day. She's been dealing with the kids and the house all day, and she's frustrated. You haven't been as present lately, lots of work pressure. You sit down and she starts. She says, you never care about what I'm going through. You don't even ask how my day was. Old response would be defensive. What are you talking about? I've been working 12-hour days to pay for this house. I can't also be checking in every 5 minutes. That's not fair. That response triggers more attack. The argument escalates. Things get worse. New response. You feel I don't care about what you're going through? She continues. Yes, because you walk in and go straight to your chair. You never think about anyone but yourself. You respond. You feel, I only think about myself. She pauses. The intensity begins dropping slightly. She says, I just feel invisible sometimes. Now the real thing underneath has surfaced. Not an attack, a genuine expression of feeling lonely and overlooked. That's something you can actually address. That's a real conversation you can have. You got there by not getting defensive, by not escalating, by reflecting until the actual issue emerged from underneath the emotional noise. Notice something important about this tactic. It requires genuine self-control. Requires you to hear painful words without immediately reacting to them. Requires you to maintain your composure when everything in you wants to defend yourself. This is not weakness. Staying controlled when someone is trying to destabilize you is one of the hardest things a man can do. And one of the most powerful. The man who keeps his cool when she's losing hers is demonstrating genuine strength, not reactive aggression, not defensive scrambling, calm, grounded, controlled presence in the middle of the storm. That calm has a powerful effect. Her emotional intensity finds nothing to feed on, nothing to escalate against. It begins to drop on its own. One more thing that men need to sit with, even though it's uncomfortable. This sandwich tactic applies to positive statements too. When she says, I love you, mentally hear, I feel I love you right now. When she says, you're the most amazing man I've ever known, mentally hear, I feel you're the most amazing man I've ever known right now. I know that stings, but it's necessary. Because emotions are temporary in both directions. The woman who loves you intensely right now may feel differently after a difficult season. The admiration she expresses today can shift. If you build your sense of self, worth entirely on her positive emotional statements, you're building on unstable ground. Keep your feet firmly planted in reality. Receive her positive emotions with appreciation but without complete dependence. Receive her negative emotions with composure but without complete dismissal. Both are temporary weather. Both will pass. Your groundedness in your own identity and values is the only stable thing in this equation. This tactic doesn't solve the underlying problems in a difficult relationship. If she's regularly attacking you emotionally, regularly weaponizing intimacy, regularly making devastating personal accusations and arguments, that's a serious relationship problem that needs serious attention. This tactic gets you through the moment without making things worse, without surrendering your emotional control, without saying things you'll regret, without validating attacks through defensive responses. The deeper conversation about why she's attacking, what's underneath it, whether the relationship is actually functioning, happens separately. When you're both calm, when rational engagement is possible, but you have to survive the moment first. You have to get through the storm without taking on water. This tactic is how you do that. Men, how many of you have made things worse by getting defensive in these moments? How many arguments have escalated because you took the bait and started defending yourself? The verbal sandwich. I feel at the beginning, right now, at the end. Accurate reflection as your response. 3 tools, simple enough to use right now. Stay in control. Don't take the bait. Let the storm pass. Then address what's real. Subscribe for the practical tools that keep good men standing when everything is designed to knock them down.